You're watching 101. We're talking to former Miss World, Diana Hayden, now an actress and working out of India. Diana, I want to get to that stage. I said, how you went from skinny, dark sidekick to superstar. But now what I want to know is how you actually got into the contest yourself. Where was the transition point?
The only thing I used to chicken from, and that is things like this. Because I remember there's a competition called Glad Rags in India, which is a fairly big competition. And being coaxed into it, I joined it. And I got selected, and then I pulled out, and I went, I can't do this stuff. I'm supposed to be backstage, that's me. But the organizer called my boss and said, she's really got good potential, blah, blah, blah. And he came out and he went, please, I don't want the organizer of Glad Rags calling me, just go back and, But anyway, I pulled out of that the day before because I didn't like the layout of that particular show. So Miss India, I had Anaida, whom I used to manage.
The singer.
The singer. She made me send my photographs in for the Miss India competition. And between her and my boyfriend, I just couldn't pull out of the competition after that. And it was at the very last moment that, my photographs got sent and I got accepted and I got interviewed. And in fact, even that, they called me, the Times of India called me because they organize it. And they said, we'd like to interview you. And I said, I don't do interviews. You can interview my boss, Suresh Thomas. And they went, no, we'd like to interview you. I said, you didn't hear me. I don't do interviews. And they said, it's regarding Miss India. Now, Mehnaz had just made the song called Miss India, so I thought it was about that. And I went, yes, we'd love to have Mehnaz perform. That's not what it's about. It's about you as a contestant for the Miss India. And I just froze. But I went in and I got interviewed. And
there's a lot of grooming that goes into it, isn't there? I mean, people think it's just put on your swimming costume and walk out there.
Now there is a lot of grooming. Personally, I feel there's too much grooming.
You mean creating clones?
That is the problem. That is the problem. They're trying to create clones, and at the same time, the girls are trying to copy us too much. And the reason why we had won was because I think our own personality shone out.
But it's done India well, though. I mean, apart from you, Shushmita Sen, Lara Datta, Aishwarya, it's like us.
But until then, they weren't trying to create clones. It's only after this that they thought there's a format. They thought they got it right. There is a pattern there. So let's just see what that is and seal on it. But that's where they went wrong. That's where they're going wrong. And I keep telling them that.
What is the grooming? What is behind the scenes in the grooming?
When I won Miss India, it was just 1 month of us rehearsing what the steps were going to be, because a lot of the girls, like myself, were not models. And, you train on the whole big show because it's about 4.5 hours. So you train about that walking and the whole choreography of that. And you have somebody come in and talk to you about makeup. You have somebody come in and talk to you. They play videos of the last girls. When I won, it was just Sushmita and Aishwarya who had won Miss World and Miss Universe before. So they show you those videos. And today, though, it's ridiculous. You have them telling you this is the way you speak. You hold my hands, I can't speak. And they're telling the girls don't move your hands and don't use your hands when you speak. So when they call me in to brief the girls, I go in and I tell them, forget everything you learned, because I'm going to confuse you if you're going to remember that. Just be yourself, just get more confident. But because you're telling someone don't do something which is your natural habit, you're confusing them.
Or at least your rebellious side came out during the contest when you were asked your question, the world peace question. What would you do? What was it? You were asked specifically about how you'd handle the riots that were taking place in India outside the stadium and so on.
No, what I was asked was, it was prejudging. Now, what people don't realize is your main issue, the main thing that happens during Miss World is prejudging. That's where they really determine who are the best girls. Because that's when each judge interviews each girl for about 3 minutes. So I was asked by Mr. Morley in prejudging, why was the name changed from Bombay to Mumbai, and how did I feel about it? And I'm not telling you my answer. And I was asked by Luke Gossett Jr., which charity would I give all my prize money to if I won? And I said, no charity. My prize money is my own. And, I'd say I'd have earned it if I win. And the charity work that I'd have to do, because Miss World does, most of the work as Miss World is charity work, that I would do to the best of my ability. but my prize money is mine, thank you very much. And I think they found that refreshing and amusing. But it's the truth, you know. Even in Miss India, I was asked about, you know, would I cheat at an exam? And I'm not going to tell you that answer either.
But weren't you asked about the reaction of people outside, you know, in India being, you know, being against the idea of women debasing themselves on stage?
I was asked about I constantly get asked that, you know. I was asked that in Prejudging. You get asked that the very morning after you win Miss World. Whoa, that's when the press just go for you to see if you've got it or you don't, if you can handle it or not. And you get asked that right through.
How do you think being Miss World has changed you as a person?
Oh, God, tremendously. I like to believe, and I am told that I'm still as grounded. And I'd really say that's because of the charity work that I'm still so grounded. Because, you know, that really keeps me very humble and very stable. But I never suffered fool's will, and I don't suffer them gladly now either. I've gone much more pedantic, and I would say it has changed me in the one big positive way that it's made me much more sensitive to a lot of things and a lot of people that I would have probably just been very blasé about.
Has it changed your perspective on how you are as an Indian, or as an East-West perspective?
You know, Riz, I'm very Indian, but I don't see myself being just a one. I just feel wherever I go, I don't feel like I'm a foreigner.
But is that because you would tend to be escorted and have a comfortable reception everywhere you are?
No, even if people don't know who I am. And what I love about being out of India is that you can just be yourself. And I can go, you know, to the market, and I can go and sit in a park and have breakfast in my pajamas. And I love that. You can't do that in India.
Where can you have pajamas? Breakfast in pajamas?
I swear. You go, you know, you go to Regent's Park, you go anywhere in London, and nobody gives a damn. Nobody cares. And when you go to, you know, be it Boots or anywhere to buy anything in London, people recognize you, and they go, "Aren't you Diana Hayden?" And, you know, I go, "Yes." And they say, "Oh, you know, great to meet you and all the best."
It's better than when they say, "Weren't you Riz Khan?" which is like... But let me ask you about the charity work, because one thing that you did for the whole year you were holding the title of Miss World, you had to do a lot of charity work, as you said. How has that spilled over into your post-Miss World life?
I did no charity work before I won Miss India. Miss India I did a bit, but Miss World, most of your work is charity work. And normally, people do it and people move on with their lives. But with me, what happened is I think I just found something of myself in it. And it just satisfied one part of my soul that was, you know, that was just... It was fantastic. I don't know how to explain it. There are no words to describe it. It made me feel very humble. I think I got a bit horrible for the first 3 months that I won Miss World, because it is such a heady experience. But that just pulls you back to the ground. It just makes you really connected and makes you feel, you know, when you work with children, because most of my work was with children who are mentally and physically handicapped. And you've got to understand, Riz, we just use our hands, we do things, we take things for granted. These are children that it's hard for them to even open their fingers. And you have this child with so much pain, he opened the door for me, and it just broke my heart. And, you know, it just keeps me grounded, and I carried on doing it, and I just feel good about it. And I think whatever we can do, especially coming from India, because this country needs as much help and support as it can get. So I don't think I make a huge difference, but whatever tiny contribution, you know, I think it counts.
Yeah, how do you cope with living in a country where it's extremes?
I was immune to it before. You really get blasé because you're living with poverty and wealth on the same side of the street, forget opposite sides of the street. You know, you see people coming in begging, you see people on little trolleys of wood with wheels, they're sitting on it with no limbs. You just grow up with it. You forget what, you know, that it's in front of your face. And then you go away and you live a life of luxury. And when you come back, it hits you in your face. It's horrible. I don't think I'd ever be able to really get used to that again. That's why when you have foreigners come to India, they go, it is such a mixed country of poverty and wealth at the same time, living, you know, together in harmony. It's weird.
What do you think people will associate with the name Diana Hayden in the years to come?
That I would like to believe, we never know. I would like to believe I'd be remembered for being humble, for doing my little bit of contribution, for being somebody who has always remained sophisticated and classy and maintained her dignity.
Dan Hayden, wish you luck. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Riz.